This is a crafting table. Here's how it works. You place these elements in different patterns and kabam! You got yourself a sweet blade.
Welcome to Now Playing Podcast Review of Minecraft.
Anything you can dream about here, you can make.
Part of Now Playing's video game movie review series.
Oh no, not again.
Hosted by Arnie.
Oh my god, are you alright?
Justin.
What am I doing here?
And Stuart.
Whoa, who are these guys?
This podcast may contain detailed plot spoilers and mild language.
All right, everyone, stay calm. Relaje. Free garbage tip. Fear is just weakness hijacking your body's cockpit.
What in the hell?
We hope you enjoy the show.
First we mine, then we craft. Let's Minecraft!
Today we're discussing a Minecraft movie starring Jason Mamoa, Jack Black, Danielle Brooks, Emma Myers, Sebastian Hansen, with Jennifer Coolidge, directed by Jared Hess. This is Arnie, co-host of Now Playing, and I know it looks like I got it all right. Smart, funny, bilingual. It's not the reality. I'm not doing that well.
And Stuart.
Vaya con Dios, which is Spanish for this is Justin.
No, it isn't.
Don't look at him.
So welcome back to the video game retrospective series. Finally, we hit the biggest video game ever, despite only being less than 20 years old, about 16 years old. Minecraft, the top-selling video game of all time.
And I'm guessing none of us play it.
You have played it, right?
I mean, I was a good uncle. Here's what happened, is that I have two teenage girls that I want to please when they come visit me for the summer and have sleepovers. And so when they pull out iPads and say, let's play Minecraft, download it, I go, okay, sure, and buy the Minecraft cereal. And I think I gave them a Minecraft ornament as well. So do I know this game? No, I do not. But I did spend probably about 90 minutes walking around a pixelated island, basically murdering animals. My joy in that basically is going around. You can turn like sheep and pigs into like food instantly with a swipe.
I've not played a ton of it. My kids have both played it, and I've seen it in action. And I'll say this, if I was 30 years younger, I could see myself really getting into it, because it is just an open sandbox of building and doing whatever you want with it. So it's like digital Legos. I see the allure. I just personally, it's not something I have time for at this time in life.
Yeah, I tried it out because of this movie. I mean, Minecraft, I'm surprised it only came out in 2011 was its original official launch. It had some betas before then. But being someone who goes to Comic-Con and subscribes to Loot Crate and all of that, it just suddenly came out of nowhere and was everywhere. Loot Crate was sending me these pixelated swords. I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm seeing these green square things show up at Comic-Con. It took me a while to understand that this was a modern game and not something that was done on like the Atari or the Nintendo a long time ago. And then it just sort of seeped into my consciousness over the span of a decade or more that it was a open sandbox game that really appealed to millennials and zillennials and all of that. And, you know, you say if you were 30 years younger, Justin, but I think about even 20 years ago, I really got big into The Sims, which is kind of a sandbox game, but I also was goal-oriented in that. I had to get my character to progress to the top level of every career path that The Sims offered in The Sims 1.0. I was going to reach the top of every hierarchy there, but I spent a lot of time buying furniture for my house and taking pictures of my own face to skin on the Sim character, which ended up looking more like Buffalo Bill than than anything else. It never quite looked right that I put my photo on there. And I could see if I was, 20 years younger, or simply not working a full-time job and doing a full-time podcast, I could see myself having time to play in this Minecraft world. I downloaded it this week, put in a couple of hours. I was actually horrified because I wasn't quite sure what to do. I thought it might handhold me, and I'm going around this voxelated world. They're not pixels, they're voxels because they're 3D. And I see a fox, and I'm like, maybe this fox will take me to something and teach me what to do. So I go up to the fox, and I'm like, well, maybe if I hit this button, I'll pet the fox. Next thing I know, I'm punching the fox, and the fox is dead. I'm like, what the hell happens? Then I drown. It turns out you can't breathe underwater. Even though you can fly, you can't breathe underwater. And finally, underwater zombies killed me, and I'm just like, all right, I'm done. But I got an exposure to Minecraft. I would not call myself a fan. Truthfully, I'm anxious to spend my video game time on Until Dawn, which I hadn't heard of, but we're going to be doing that video game movie in a few weeks in theaters. That's the game I want to play. So Minecraft was a stop along the way.
Yeah, but why would this game be the most popular of all time? Just to put that in perspective, we're not talking about with Zoomers and kids today. We're talking about in the history of video games, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, this is the biggest one.
Yeah, Pac-Man and Donkey Kong don't even rate in the top 10. It's Minecraft, followed by Grand Theft Auto 5, followed by Wii Sports. When you think about that, it hit me. Minecraft, part of the reason it's so popular is it's everywhere. When I wanted to play it, I could play it for Windows, I could get it on my Xbox, I could get it on my PlayStation. I ended up getting it for my iPad. It was a game that was put into Java, and so it would run anywhere, cost only a few bucks. I think I paid $6 for the iPad version of the game. So its ubiquity, I'm sure, helped. That unlike Wii Sports where you had to have a Wii, here you could play this on your phone or a console.
Yeah, but it's, more than that. You could put a bad game out on all platforms and it's still a bad game. Why would this have universal appeal? I can speak to this much. My nieces don't like violence. They don't like to even get scared. They came to this because it was, like breaking out a bedazzler or something. We're crafting. We're just having fun making something. You mentioned Legos, and they love Legos. They have like girl Legos, I guess, where they make like unicorns and stuff. Mm-hmm. And they graduated from that to this game. And for them, that was the experience. And yet for me, here I am going around and killing animals and excited that there are zombies coming. And there is sort of a side-scrolling quest element to this as well. They combine the two. So I think you can go and have like an adventure, and then you could also have fun making. Let's also not forget nostalgia, right?
Yeah.
Every generation has some reverence, I think, for a previous generation. In the 80s, we were obsessed with the 50s. I do think that when this came out, there was some real love for 80s nostalgia and pixelated imagery. Just the idea that you could see the world in that 8-bit way was the appeal.
Yeah, exactly. And when Arnie brought up Comic-Con, that sparked a memory in my head because there was that first year at Comic-Con where people were walking around with green pixelated cardboard boxes on their head everywhere. And I was like, what is this?
Right.
And it took me a while to wrap my head around the idea that it's for a video game that's very popular, but why does it look like that? We've progressed past pixelization. Why is it? It's because, like you said, Stuart, people have this nostalgia, and video gamers in general do enjoy what came before. They're not super into Atari and stuff like that, but like the Nintendo, I think, is the grandfather of it all. Mm-hmm. And anything that can harken back to that time before they were even born, I think is a vibe that generation really digs.
And you mentioned Lego, and what's not shocking at all to me is that Lego makes Minecraft sets now. They have that partnership together. Mm-hmm. Well, there is the main Minecraft game, and that's the one I wanted to play. There are other Minecraft games. A company that I don't think's in business anymore, but I knew them because they did a Guardians of the Galaxy game and a Batman game called Telltale Games, did Minecraft Story Mode, where it was in this style, but it actually had a narrative that went through and a lot of voice actors. It was like Patton Oswalt and Brian Posehn and Martha Plimpton Plimpton and Corey Feldman. Yeah, Corey Feldman and Paul Rubens. And then they did a second season of that one. And then there's, a dungeon crawler one, kind of Diablo-ish, that is just called Minecraft Dungeons. That's available for mostly console systems. And then there's an action game called Minecraft Legends. So like any hit, they're taking this into a lot of different ways. There's also a list of novels you could read if you wanted to have other forays into what a Minecraft story could be. But yeah, I mean, making a Minecraft movie is a lot like the Lego movie. I mean, somebody says make a Minecraft movie or make a Lego movie, you're like, well, what is that really? I mean, you've got some things you do. You harvest resources, you build stuff, and at night you have zombies, but how do you make that into a film? This thing was in kind of development hell for over a decade. They started looking at this back in 2014. Sean Levy was going to direct this, the guy who did Night at the Museum series and Real Steel and would go on to do Free Guy and Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, I think you mentioned Lego, and Lego Movie was an enormous hit, right? What I heard was, I put this on the calendar years ago because they were going to rush this out in the afterglow of how much money the first Lego Movie made. I think after the second Lego Movie came out, there was, let's rethink this. But it sounded like it was a genuine copycat. Like it was going to be Steve Carell, and he was like this everyman trying to build things with blocks and not very good at it. And it just sounds exactly like the same thing that Chris Pratt was doing in that Lego Movie.
Yeah, the Steve Carell version came around in 2016. It was being helmed by Rob McElhenney, which I don't know him. I looked him up. The only thing he directed is some episodes of It's Only Sunny in Philadelphia. So I don't know why you give your major franchise to him.
It's Mac. He's one of the actors in It's Always Sunny. He's been producing and directing episodes of that. He's buddies with Ryan Reynolds. They co-own Wrexham soccer team.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So he was going to do it, and then that died, and they brought in Peter Sollett, who did Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, and he was going to write and direct. And then that project got sidelined with COVID, and finally in 2022, 11 years after this game hit big, they got Hess here to do it. Hess, who I primarily know from Napoleon Dynamite. I think that's the only movie of his I've actually seen.
Yeah, well, it's the only movie anyone's ever seen. I guess Nacho Libre has some fans, but yes, he was a one-hit wonder. Older than Minecraft itself is his directing career, and I went into this movie not having seen a lot of previews, not asking a lot of questions, not doing any research, and then when I saw the director's name flash on, I was like, oh, I feel like I know that name. That couldn't be Napoleon Dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
And before the movie was even over and I could confirm it on IMDb, I was like, oh, this is Napoleon Dynamite guy, for sure.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Napoleon Dynamite? Because, yeah, Nacho Libre, I almost saw, but just didn't have the interest. Napoleon Dynamite was perhaps one of the first times I ever felt old, is because it was such a big hit with people like 5 to 8 years younger than me. And so I checked it out, and, I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was mind-blowing or revolutionary or as impactful as younger people took it, but I was glad to get some of the cultural references. I think my funniest stuff all came from Uncle Rico.
Yeah, I mean, Napoleon Dynamite's one of those oddball movies, right? Where it probably should have just been an indie film, but somehow it took off and put a lot of people on the map. But yeah, I think it's a calling card for Hess. I think that's kind of the niche he found, is getting a story around oddball people and not being the type of person who points and laughs at them for being different. It's just we're hanging out with them and this is how their life goes.
Proof that I shouldn't have ever gone to Hollywood. I was working at Fox, and they had an advanced screening of that movie. I went before it was a thing, and I was like, what a stinker. What a bomb. Nobody's going to go see this thing. They were handing out shirts with Ligers on it and everything. I was like, you fail. This won't work. What do I know? Clearly, you're right. Maybe I was too old for it. It does seem to be something that hit with a certain style, a certain generation, a certain style of humor that was in vogue at that time. I mean, I like Wes Anderson. I think think that Napoleon Dynamite had some of the same kind of quirky, curated, they're like skits, right? It's not even a movie. It's like, here's a bit here, here's a bit there, and if we, hot glue and tape enough of these bits together for 90 minutes, we can release it like it is a movie, but it isn't.
Yeah, I mean, when your big crescendo of your movie is a guy putting on a talent show dance competition in moon boots that he learned from an 80s jazzercise tape, then yeah, I mean, what are you saying? It's not fine cinema, but it's a little slice of life movie in oddball realm.
Yeah, he wasn't able to replicate it. I know he ended up making another one for Fox called Gentlemen Broncos that nobody saw. And again, he just fell off. And I assume he's here because nobody else respectable would want to make a Minecraft movie. But somebody's got to be sitting in the chair. And yeah, I think his fingerprints are all over this film.
Yeah, I was shocked when I saw this in theaters. The sheer number of writers this was credited to, and then even more with story by credit, but it's because this went through so many hands and so many iterations over the course of a decade that all of that happened. And yeah, I hadn't thought about Jared Hess since probably Nacho Libre. I've heard some good things about Masterminds, but that's like the only other film of his I've even heard mentioned. But I was well aware of this coming out. I thought this was a Jack Black starring movie. I thought, like, when it was first really announced, it was on his Instagram. He was posting all over that he was Steve in this. So I was actually shocked when I found out that Jason Mamoa is top billed and Jack Black is more of a supporting character.
I'll tell you what, I never thought about those two actors together before, and I never realized how similar they really are as attention whores. But this movie will draw very strong, big, bold lines between the two and show that they are, it's kind of like twins, right? Even though they look so different, they're the same damn thing.
This, to me, made sense. I just thought this was going to be Jumanji all over again. I mean, Jack Black was in Jumanji with The Rock. Jason Momoa as Aquaman felt kind of rock-ish or WWE-ish, at least. And so getting a strong guy, a funny guy, a kid, and a woman together in video game land, that's Jumanji all over. That's not creative at all.
Well, we haven't covered that one yet. We will eventually. I think we're going to wait now for the fourth movie supposed to be coming next year.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Arnie. I fully expected Jumanji out of this movie going in.
Is it? As someone that hasn't seen a Jumanji movie?
It's more Jumanji than it isn't. I mean, I literally thought in this movie, Minecraft was going to be a video game that they got sucked into, and they don't go that literal with it, but you do have Earthlings who get sucked into a video game and then have an adventure where they could literally die. Yeah, there's a lot of Jumanji in here.
Different tone.
Okay. But is it the same quality?
Different quality, sure.
I'll say this much. I turned off the remake of Jumanji halfway through. I tolerated the first Jumanji because it had Robin Williams, never seen Zathura, and never saw Jumanji 2. So if it's the same quality, the question would only be, would I have finished this voluntarily then? Because I turned off Jumanji.
Yeah. Well, I'm sitting here in this IMAX screen thinking, God, I hope it isn't like Jumanji, because there's a lot of those films, and I don't want to ever see this again. I was going to see it twice. I went on Thursday to see it in IMAX, and then I told you guys, oh, it's also got a 3D run. I'll go and see that. But halfway through this movie, arms folded, I was like, there's no way you could ever make me watch this again.
I wondered, I almost texted you because you told us your plans to see it twice, and I wanted to know if you went back.
Nope.
I didn't see this in IMAX or 3D. I just went to a theater that was showing it. I was going to go to Alamo, but the Thursday night showing was at 6. That's a little bit of a rush to get to right after work. And then it was a kid-friendly screening, which made me think, I want to be able to pay attention to the movie and not have somebody kicking my seat even at Alamo. So I went to a very small chain called Flicks and saw this in a packed theater where I was one of the oldest people, I will say. I really kind of felt like the chaperone at this, and they weren't underage. It wasn't like a child-friendly screening. I don't think there was anyone there under 10.
Right.
But I would say the majority of the audience was 20 to 30-ish.
Yeah, that's pretty close to what my experience was. I went Thursday early evening to about a half full theater, just the regular Dolby Digital screening with the rumble seats and all that. And, it was 20 to 30-year-olds, like Arnie said, and me by myself, feeling like a creeper.
Is it going to be a hit? You say your theaters were filled. I would say that, like you guys, it was a youngish crowd. They weren't taking up all the seats. I would say it was a third full. I couldn't gauge whether this was going to have Super Mario Brothers. You mentioned that movie, and that thing made like $1 billion gazillion dollars. Like, that ended up surprising all of us about how profitable it was. Is this going to be close to that?
One of the things I always use just anecdotally to gauge if something's going to be a hit opening weekend is the toy aisle. And Walmart's, Target's, all of the stores have shippers and displays and sections of the toy aisles filled with movie versions of Minecraft characters that seem pretty well picked over the last couple days as I've kind of casually walked through. So I don't know about if it speaks to the movie or just kids seeing new Minecraft stuff in the store, but the toys are selling decently.
It's a McDonald's line, the Happy Meal.
Oh my God. Yeah, that has gone viral. I've seen TikTok videos of McDonald's getting mobbed for their Minecraft Happy Meal. I couldn't believe it.
What?
Yeah, like people are going crazy over the Happy Meal stuff.
What is going on in this world? I'm so concerned about the world anymore. And every time I turn on the TV, it's bad news. That might be the worst news I've ever heard. People want more of this?
Going into the movie, I read early box office predictions that this was going to be the biggest opening of the year at about 145 million global opening, and domestic was going to be 65 to 70 million, and bullish estimates were 80 million domestic, which is still, sorry Anthony Mackie, biggest movie of the year, a good success. Once Friday morning numbers came in, everything changed. They are now looking at least 135 million domestic for this film.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That's so sad. There's going to be more of this. Oh no!
The bullish estimates now have this opening at 145 to 155. For comparison, the biggest ever is the Super Mario Brothers film at 146.3.
Oh, God.
Biggest ever video game movie. Minecraft is within spitting distance of that and may best it. It all depends on Saturday numbers to see, but it is a huge success domestically, and they're looking at a great global take too, because Minecraft is an international phenomenon. It's huge, and yeah, people are eating it up. My audience, they applauded. And at the end credit stinger, it reminded me, Stuart, of you in Eternals, where somebody was yelling, "That's Blade, that's Blade." Somebody in my audience went, "Oh, it's Alex."
Yeah.
And I'm like, who the hell is Alex? I mean, this is a game without characters, right? It doesn't have story. How do you have Easter eggs? I get Sonic the Hedgehog, where you have all these characters that were introduced in all these games. I finally had to look up and find Steve was just the generic name they gave your generic character when you first played the game. This guy in blue shirt and pants, they needed to give him a name. They gave him Steve because they thought that was generic enough, and it just stuck. And then they decided they wanted a little more gender equality, so they gave a female default skin of Alex. That's who Alex is. But I'm like researching the story games from Telltale. I'm like, is there a Garrett in these games? Is there a Hank? Is there a Dawn? Is there a real estate agent in this game? Is there a sorceress in these games? No. This is a original story, but man, did my audience get excited for Alex for some reason.
Yeah, interesting you say that about the audience response. There was engagement, but I wouldn't say there was appreciation.
Oh, my audience clapped numerous times. It's really funny because, like, many times the whole audience would, like, murmur with appreciation or laugh.
I heard titters.
The guy right next to me was groaning. Every time, like, the audience was like, "Ha!" The person next to me was like, "Ugh." I just couldn't believe this one person so out of key with everybody else around me. It was very funny.
And I wasn't at your screening.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if they've just wanted to see some sort of realish interpretation of these 8-bit graphics they've been enjoying for all these years, and now they have a new visual to put to it. Maybe they can even put that into a game. Maybe Minecraft will have another resurgence with these skins and this realistic 3D look.
Yeah, I can't wait. Arnie, why don't you just give him the plot and we'll get through a Minecraft movie?
Jack Black is Steve, a middle-aged doorknob salesman with dreams of adventure. Steve discovers a glowing blue cube in a nearby mine. When placed in its crystal container, the cube opens a portal to the Overworld, a realm where Steve can shape the land using natural materials. He builds and explores, but grows lonely until he befriends a wolf he names Dennis. At night, he fends off zombie attacks with the fortresses he constructs. Years pass, and Steve and Dennis discover a second portal leading to the Nether, a desolate realm ruled by the greedy sorceress Malgotia and her piglin followers. Malgotia realizes Steve's cube is the mythical Orb of Dominance, which would let her invade and strip mine the Otherworld. Steve helps Dennis escape, and the wolf takes the orb back to Earth, but Steve is taken prisoner. On Earth, Garrett Garrison, a down-on-his-luck former arcade champ played by Jason Mamoa, and affectionately known as the Garbage Man, purchases the contents of a storage unit containing Steve's old belongings, including the orb. Henry, a creative young boy new to town after his mother's death, discovers the orb and accidentally activates the portal with Garrett. They're drawn into the Overworld. Henry's sister and guardian Natalie panics when he disappears and calls the only adult she knows, her real estate agent / traveling zoo person, Dawn. Dawn tracks Henry's phone to the mines, and all four are pulled into the portal. In the Overworld, Henry quickly learns to build and create a castle to survive the nighttime zombie attacks, but Garrett breaks the crystal container. Malgotia senses the orb's return and blackmails Steve into retrieving it by threatening Dennis. But Steve defects, wanting only to ensure Dennis's safety. He joins Garrett, Henry, Natalie, and Dawn on a mission to the Woodland Mansion to find a new Earth crystal so the four can go back to Earth. Along the way, Garrett tries to cash in by mining diamonds, but they're attacked by piglins. Malgotia, enraged, gives her piglins a potion to survive the daylight and leads them in an assault. Steve and Henry and Garrett are separated from Natalie and Dawn, and the women find Dennis alive and well. The two groups regroup after intense battles. Malgotia seizes the orb, uses it to blot out the sun, and begins overtaking the Overworld. Garrett seemingly sacrifices himself to save the others. The remaining heroes rally, build weapons, and lead an army of iron golems to fight back. In the final showdown, Henry is nearly killed retrieving the orb, but is saved by Garrett, who survived. With the orb reclaimed, the sun returns and the piglins burn, and Malgotia is defeated. Steve prepares to stay behind in the Overworld, but changes his mind at the last second and joins his new friends back on Earth. In the final scenes, we see all 5 humans are thriving in new careers back on Earth, and Steve returns to his old house and meets its new resident, Alex, as credits roll.
And as we start, they're loading it up on the screen. One of many retro computer / video game jokes is you gotta wait for the movie to upload. And they make it clear, this is not the Minecraft movie, it's a Minecraft movie. There's a lot of different stories that could be told, and perhaps with the success of this movie, they're going to have all kinds of spin-offs and different realms and what have you. But we are to understand that this is about Jack Black. Arnie, I'm going to say he is the star, no matter how high he's billed on the poster. This is his world. He built it.
Admittedly, Jack Black in the voiceover has a pun, I think it is at the beginning, because he says there's millions and billions of tales in this universe, but this one is all mine. Get it? Minecraft, all mine. I think that's a pun, but it's also saying this is Steve's story.
Yeah, if you don't think that's funny, they'll be making that joke about 80 more times.
I was just shocked because we are hit with a dense prologue of Steve's story here. I couldn't believe how much they pack into literally the first 9 minutes of this movie could be an entire movie of Steve discovering the overworld and learning to build stuff and making friends with a pet wolf. This is just a really short prologue. The question I have, though, is the story is simple, but do you like the humor? Do you like seeing little boy Jack Black who wants to play in a mine, a literal mine, where they're harvesting some ore and some big-nosed, toothless guy yelling at him, and then seeing Jack Black as a doorknob salesman wearing the same exact shirt? Is this funny?
That's going to be the overall question of this movie, I think, that you're laying out right away. But to me, yeah, you say it's dense, but I think it's playing just perfectly to let you know that, like, hey, we're about to go to this fantastical world. Here's how it happened. Don't worry too much about it. It's gonna be goofy. And I think that's what they're telling us visually. I mean, Jack Black goes back to that mine as an adult wearing the exact same clothes as you said, and meets the exact same miner who's wearing the exact same clothes. So it's not gonna be anything you need to take too seriously. We just need to get into that mine so we can find the thing that takes us into this world we want to go check out.
Yeah, I mean, the humor is essentially hardcore juxtapositions. Seeing random things put side by side against each other is the joke of Napoleon Dynamite for 90 minutes. It's just weird combinations that this movie will just relish on, that you could throw, a tater tot in with a belt buckle and a few other odds and ends, and that it just turns into something. That's how this movie has been made. It is throwing Jack Black at the screen, at us, and he, as a master improviser and singer, is just going to pull the rest of the humor along with him. And this movie, again, these two work together on Nacho Libre. I never saw it, but apparently he was a luchador, right?
Mm-hmm.
Luchador wrestler. I imagine that it probably feels a lot like this opening. If you want to see this opening as an entire movie, Arnie, probably go watch Nacho Libre.
Now I want to see an interview with Jared Hess and somebody dig in on what his infatuation with tater tots is. Because this is another movie that is centralized around tater tots.
Mm-hmm. Again, that just feels like the food you ate in the 80s. Everything feels retro. And one of the big jokes for Jared Hess is that things that used to be cool look absurd as the years pass, but some people don't recognize that. They still wear the mullets. They still eat the tater tots. They still live in the past. We're going to have a character very much pushing that joke. But just to wrap up on Steve, do I think this is funny? I like Jack Black in moderation. I realize I prefer it when he is a tool used in a real movie and not when he is given free rein to create the entire movie around him. But it's more or less setting up the world. They need to get to it fast, and we get the things that I remember from the game. One of the things I recall is that night does set very fast, and it can go from this lovely utopian pixelated island to being this scary place full of zombies that will get you, and for no real reason. The game is random, so having random humor feels appropriate.
I will say I like the look of the overworld when they start bringing in the zombie creatures and the skeletons and the animals and things. I think that they chose a really good art style for bringing to quote-unquote real life these creatures that, look so blocky, and making that block an aesthetic without making it its only aesthetic. Like, I think that the sheep and the wolf are cute looking animals, being boxy the way they are, the way that Jack Black does his magician hands as he makes castles and makes an amusement park, the square bees, which I've seen before many times. It's kind of like an icon of Minecraft. I like how everything is looking here. So when Jack Black is dancing with pandas and cows, it's random, but it's cute. I'm going along with it. I'm being pulled into this overworld.
But let's make a fine point on this. This is what's pulling on your heartstrings. Oh, I think that's cute. I want to go buy it. I want the popcorn bucket because it's the sheep. I want these objects. It is not a movie, though. As you say, a real movie would have him establish a relationship with this wolf. We would actually care in the same way Charlie Brown loved Snoopy, the way that this Steve falls for Dennis. But because it's Jared Hess, because he doesn't really want emotions, I think he's repulsed by the idea of being sentimental, so everything's just done in real shorthand. It's like a script written with Mad Libs, and the most absurd things you can stick in the blank lines, the better.
And I think if you're going to go that route, what better canvas than Minecraft to do that in, right? I mean, we already talked how it's a game without a story.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to be the person injecting that story, use all the shorthand you can and make it entertaining on screen.
Yeah, we get it real fast that Steve and the dog are best friends in a zombie world where he can build houses, whatever, and then Flint and Steel create some portal to a hell world where pigs don't want creativity. I can go with random. I can. It's setting up a world that I'm imagining is going to make sense and appeal to the people that like the game.
Like I say, I think that you could be finding this portal to the Nether at the 30-minute mark of a different movie where you have established this a little more and given Steve a little bit more characterization. Maybe they did this intentionally because Steve isn't a character. They won't let Jack Black be a character because all we know is he was drawn to the mines and that he was a creative person forced into an uncreative life, and they almost do a being John Malkovich kind of design at his office with all the coworkers and him having lunch and things. It feels very closed in.
What do you mean by that? Being John Malkovich world? I'm curious of what you're getting at.
When we're at Steve's job selling doorknobs, the office feels cramped. There's a lot of people in there. It's got a green pallor, which is a color I associate with the color palette of being John Malkovich.
Really?
Yeah, when I think of being John Malkovich, a lot of that is in green-brown tones, and that was the office color of Steve's office.
We should do that movie, because I got a lot of thoughts about it, and I really like that movie, and I really don't like this movie. So, yeah, that comparison really struck me. What I would say, I think it feels like a dollhouse, and the person I go to again and again for this kind of aesthetic, not being John Malkovich, although Spike Jonze does have some of this, it's Wes Anderson, right? That it's all about dressing up people to look a certain way in a very curated world, and you could just spend all your time freeze-framing and looking at the architecture and the layout. And yeah, this is just like a stereotypical 80s office, complete with Xerox machine and TV dinners for lunch. And he's going to break out of those segmented food compartments and bring it all together. He builds with his food, right? The idea is that Steve is creative, that he won't be boxed in, and that he can take elements that shouldn't go together and make masterpieces.
Yeah, I mean, and I think he's just trying to set up a juxtaposition between the real world and the overworld that we're eventually going to get into. And the real world is kind of regimented and boring and beige. You know, we see these little cracker box houses. We see a single factory on a hill, and we see a school, and that's about it. Everything else is just kind of blah in this area. But I think that's to set up how wondrous Minecraft land is going to be when we get there. Colorful, bright, and vibrant.
Yeah, he's had a disappointing life.
I just think there's a story to be told about a character who is completely enamored with mines to the point that once he gets in a mine, he's ready to live in isolation. You know, in Jumanji, you get trapped in that game, right? Robin Williams got trapped in that game and grew a crazy beard and couldn't escape until kids came along decades later. Here, Steve is going to be in the game and wants to be there and wants to grow the crazy beard and just be with his pet wolf. His eschewing of all human contact is going to be his character arc. He's going to eventually want to go back to Earth, but I need to better understand why he wanted to leave Earth in the first place other than I hate my job. Because guess what? So do most people. That's why they pay you.
Yeah, and that's why people play video games. Is because their day life sucks, so I'm going to go home and live in the world that I want to. And that's the dishonesty of this movie, is that yes, it's going to treat Steve like he's got a social problem that needs to be fixed. That by disappearing into the Overland, that's somehow bad for him. But do you think that the video game designers want us to spend more time with our friends in the real world playing Frisbee? No, they do not. They want us all to go to their creation and spend our money on their stuff. Again, the job of this movie is not to sell us that we need to unplug. It's that we need to find this mine and get sucked into.
Yeah, I mean, not to spoil it right up front, but the only theme of this movie is, hey, you can be creative in the video game world, and that's being a creative type person. And you know what? You kind of have to spend time in the real world too for a little bit, but don't worry too much about it.
Yeah, just pull that out for ideas, like flipping through a magazine. Oh, I can't wait to turn this real thing into a pixelated counterpart in my version of reality.
But yeah, he is going to find that portal to the Nether where all they want is gold. They're greedy pigs, literally, and they have stripped their entire realm for gold. And now, because Steve has this, I was calling it the Tesseract in my notes. I mean, it literally is the Tesseract from the early Marvel movies, but it's the cube-shaped orb, and now that Malgosia has the orb, I guess they can start mining for gold in the overworld, but within seconds, Dennis has stolen keys, they break out of the dungeon. In the grossest joke of the movie, Jack Black rubs the orb on his armpits so Dennis gets his scent and tells him, take this to my home on Earth.
Now, hey, I'm not gonna sit here and nitpick a movie that's this shallow, but they said it at least 3 times that he had a waterbed. And we saw his bed. That was not a waterbed. That was just a basic frame bed with a box spring. Waterbeds don't have an underneath. They basically sit on the floor.
Right.
Yes. Yes. I even looked this up because I had a waterbed.
Yep.
And waterbeds are freaking heavy. That's one of the reasons why they stopped making them is people didn't want this several hundred pounds of water. You had to have a sturdy frame. And yes, some did build drawers into this huge wet furniture piece, but you couldn't hide something under a waterbed because if it just had legs, that thing would not sustain. That was not a waterbed.
Thank you. So it wasn't just me being crazy. I think that was just one of those things where it's like, hey, remember in the 80s people had waterbeds? It's like, well, then put it on screen if you're going to keep saying it.
Yeah, that was a confusing bit, but, you know, it passes by quick, and that's the point, is that absurdity is not to be challenged. It is to be completely consumed, like showering in absurdity by the end of this movie. We just want ridiculousness, the more the better. Here's one thing that I wondered, not knowing anything about this movie, but, you know, thinking, okay, it's a game that invites people to create a better life in a pixelated form. Would we have some kind of Wizard of Oz comparative, right? Where the things that Steve creates in the overworld reflect the things he left behind. You know, like how the woman that took Toto ended up being the Wicked Witch of the West. Would we have corollaries between his imagined world and the world that was oppressive to him? And that would be one way of telling this as, you know, a story. If you actually wanted to understand psychology and character and, you know, maybe have some emotional investment every now and then. Not the bag of this director. And when we quote unquote get back to this real world, we're going to meet another recessive man-child who is going to do 30 more minutes of bits before we get back to the overworld.
First of all, I'm not quite sure what the timeline is. I don't know at what point Steve was a child at the mine. I don't know how long Steve spent in the overworld building stuff, but we see that when he's an adult, he has a beard, but then he has a beard that's graying by the time he finds the Nether. And then the dog takes the orb under his bed, and now a number of years have passed because I guess somebody came by and realized his house was abandoned, and they put all of his items in a storage unit, so that has to have taken some time.
The 80s, right? I mean, that's the point, is that you have 2 characters that are stuck in the 1980s. One literally was an office worker in the 1980s. I don't think that any of the video games that I had, maybe Populous, played like Minecraft, but the point is, he disappeared into this world in the 80s, and now we meet this other character who grew up, who didn't get stuck, but still is playing. He was a video game champion back in 1989, and here he is, I'm assuming in the modern day, or at least 2011 when Minecraft comes out, and is still acting like a teenager.
Yeah, it's confusing because Jason Momoa is only 45. And they specifically say in the late 80s, this guy took the gaming world by storm. So he'd have to be a lot younger than he appears to be in this flashback we get.
The point is, he was a kid in the 80s who's now a loser as an adult and still has the same haircut. And again, Napoleon Dynamite was all about this, being like stuck in the past.
Yeah, Uncle Rico.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's our Uncle Rico point of view. But did you guys get the sense that they were taking a few pot shots at Billy Mitchell here, right? Guy who's...
Oh, yeah. I mean, 100% this is Billy Mitchell all over. The fact that they didn't make it Donkey Kong was a shock, but this fake game Hunk City Rampage that he's a champion of, but it really felt like Billy Mitchell clinging to the 80s, and he's just stuck with his 80s mullet.
Yeah, he plays hair metal all day long. He's driving around in his muscle car, listening to Skid Row and wearing his hair long like it would have been fashionable in 1989. I think it's on a continuous loop. There's like a news clip of when he won $12,000 and a lucrative deal with Sizzler. And if you don't think that's hilarious, you need to get out of this theater. Again, the joke is saying the word Sizzler. That's it. Just reminding you that Sizzler is a place that you could eat at is the punchline.
And he now owns like a retro video game store. I did like this store. The fact that it wasn't just selling video games or it wasn't just an arcade, but it had like the old board games I used to own from the video games, like the Pac-Man board game and the Donkey Kong board game were in there. And those little individual Coleco mini arcades that they sold in the 80s were in there. But what's it called? Game Over World. Get it? Overworld? And that Garrett's life is over. There's stuff under the surface here. Just look at this.
Yeah, okay.
One of the writers got an extra pat on the back for that one, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you get it. I don't think you have to try too hard. This is a classic Jared Hess character, and yes, he is just as stuck in the 80s in his own way as Steve is stuck in his 80s mentality. And yeah, getting them together will be some kind of fun. Because yes, we'll see that Garrett goes to try and buy Steve's stuff from a warehouse auction and ends up spending too much for not enough. He was hoping to resell some kind of Atari system I've never heard of.
Yeah, I think that was made up, isn't it? I'd never heard of that version of Atari.
The Atari Cosmos was an unreleased product by Atari.
Ah.
Okay. So it did exist, and it had holographic items and a handful of games, but apparently never got to retail. So I suppose if you were able to buy one of those in a storage unit wars, you might be able to make some money.
Sure, a prototype.
But turns out Steve had one of those, but only the box. There was nothing in it.
Well, I thought it was under the waterbed, but that's where we'll find out the orbs and the crystals are all being kept. But anyway, his car breaks down and he's having a fit by the side of the road. And then we get young characters, which I guess you need, right? We need point of view for young players. But boy, did I not need Natalie and Hank.
I felt so old. I should have felt old the entire movie, I think, because of the audience I was with and the movie I was reviewing. But I see this Natalie driving a car, and I'm like, she looks 13. She does not look like she should be driving a car.
Or raising a child.
Right.
Yeah, then they blasely mention, well, mom's dead and I'm taking care of you now.
Yes.
And I'm like, wait a sec. Not only is she driving, but she's his caretaker? Because I thought maybe 16 or 15 with a driver's permit. I had to look it up. This actress is 23, but if I saw her in a bar, I'd be a narc and tell the bouncer to get her out of there because she does not look legal to drink, let alone be the guardian of her 13-year-old is this actor. I had to look that up too because I'm like, well, if she's 23, how the hell old is he?
Right.
He was 13.
Well, my niece is 22. To me, she felt correct. She's too young to be in this parenting role, but she is the right age to be getting a first job. And she has landed the social media post at a potato chip factory in Chugless, Idaho. And again, just the Mad Libs absurdity of throwing all those words together is what is going to have you giggling or not.
She promised to get them more than 75 followers. So, hey, if that worked, she can come over and do Now Playing next. We could use a boost. But the fact that she's working as a social media manager at a potato chip company, that seems right for her age range. That was the first time she felt age appropriate. But yeah, these characters, her is my problem. She is not given enough to do in this movie.
Yep.
She doesn't start off necessarily struggling enough with the death of her mother, struggling enough with being a caretaker and a breadwinner. She does seem overwhelmed, but this is also glossed over that it's not driven home. We're going to focus a lot more on her brother Henry not fitting in at school than we're going to focus on her. And I feel like we're going to focus a lot more on the boys in this movie than the girls. The girls get the short shrift story-wise and character-wise to the point that I wonder why they're in there at all, except for gender parity.
Well, you've answered your own question. That's why they're there, because the suits told them, put women in this. We need to appeal to them.
But give them something to do.
Nope. This is a Jared Hess movie. I have no interest in that. And I have no interest in sentimentality and all the things that any other kids movie where kids are orphaned and dealing with grief would have to work through. We are having no psychology in this. It doesn't matter why mom is dead or why she wanted them to live here or any of that stuff at all. Nope, we're not touching it. On to the next thing.
Yeah, which is basically just introducing us to characters, right? So now we have most of our main cast, but we have to meet our real estate agent who's going to bring some comedy. And this is an actress I've enjoyed. She's Tasty from Orange is the New Black, and she was great in that show, and she's bringing a little bit of that here.
I only know her from the recent unfortunate Color Purple musical,
Ooh.
Where she tried to take the Oprah Winfrey part and fell on her ass.
I don't know her at all. She's not really playing a distinct role here. So I've seen this character a lot, but I've never seen this actress before, it turned out. I feel like this character exists on the current Night Court reboot, and this character exists in the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, and this character is here. And I thought it was just a one-off gag that she is a real estate agent who has a traveling zoo with an alpaca in her back seat, but she's going to be a main character for reasons that will never sit with me. I do not understand.
Yes, you do. Warner Brothers says we need black women in this. We need diversity. You need to hit all quadrants. And so Jared Hess was like, fine. But what he cares about, you're absolutely right. The only one that does matter is Henry, because Henry is the one with the issue, right? That he's trying to fit in, he's awkward, he's a creative type, and that makes him weird. And we will see on his first day that he will try really hard to fit in, and the bullies win. And he ends up destroying the potato chip mascot statue instead of making any friends. He does make friends with Garrett, but that's mostly because he has a tater tot pizza or something.
Yeah, he gets goaded into making a jetpack that actually would have worked, but some of the older kids cut some wires, which made it go haywire, knocked over the beloved potato on top of the factory, and now he's in the vice principal's office, which is, I think, our last character that we have to meet, which is Jennifer Coolidge, playing Jennifer Coolidge.
Yes, yes.
She is an actress I love. I've seen her do live stand-up. She actually came to Springfield, Illinois one time, and we went and got front row tickets to hear her tell stories. And from American Pie to Legally Blonde, every time she shows up, I find her a breath of fresh air. I know she's getting critically acclaimed for White Lotus. My wife loves her in White Lotus. I haven't watched White Lotus.
Great show.
I hear nothing but good, so it pains me to say the words I'm about to say. Every scene with Jennifer Coolidge in it is the worst scene in this movie and should have been left on the cutting room floor.
And for a colorful counterpart, my favorite stuff in the movie. The only time I laughed.
I like Jennifer Coolidge. I feel like she's been worn thin as of late. She's in some ad campaigns that are just over the top and it's too much.
Yes. Yeah.
And so maybe that's contributing to it, but I feel like she's used just enough here where I don't get sick of her on screen.
Oh my God, we are Goldilocks and the Three Bears on her.
I'm just writing it.
Yeah, I don't really know her other than White Lotus, but yes, what she did in that series is magical and it has led to her overexposure. What you're talking about is now they're putting her in and everything, and it's wearing thin. And this is not her best work. I'm not trying to advocate that I love this, but at least I like her, and I don't like nobody else in this movie. So, yes, when she's here doing her shtick later, we'll talk about it when she falls in love with the wayward villager that escapes the Minecraft world. It's something I can hold on to.
Yeah, but right here, it's a weird scene because Henry is sent to the vice principal's office, and it's her, and she's instantly talking about her sexless marriage and her divorce and her ex-husband, and then it cuts to dude standing right next to her, so I think that's her ex-husband. We're gonna find out later her ex-husband does work at the school, but it's not this guy with no lines that's standing right next to her, but I really just found her speech inappropriate. You know, I knew it was the guy who did Napoleon Dynamite, but I hadn't seen Napoleon Dynamite in a long time. But now that you guys are bringing it back, yeah, this is very Napoleon Dynamite type of humor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very thin on connective tissue. Just give me a bit, take the most random things you can think of and put them in a scene together. Give everyone absurd names. Yeah, it's following the playbook, and enough time has passed that people are probably nostalgic for Napoleon Dynamite. And as you say, it's totally appropriate in Minecraft, where you're just sticking things into that world, that you would have the same approach to the comedy here. Is this the only way to make a Minecraft movie? No, but this is a way to make a Minecraft movie.
And we're going to have also, the science teacher who's talking about how he hates it. I mean, Henry's finding out from the vice principal, you're like our first new student since the school ratings came out. So this is a bad school with bad kids. And when he gets in trouble for the rocket, he doesn't want to call his sister. So he calls the only other person he knows. He calls Garrett and is like, will you pretend to be my uncle for, what was it, $25?
26, because 26 is funnier than 25.
And he says, I don't do that anymore. That's funny. I'm sorry.
But earlier, he had been trying to sell him on mentorship lessons on how to win at life. So again, this is a guy hard up for cash who thinks that he's still as cool as he thought he was in 1989 and is happy to have someone that's going to kind of look up to him. He wants someone to idolize him.
I thought I knew where this movie was going, though. I thought for sure when Jason Momoa is wearing his Hulk Hogan 1980 sunglasses and that pink fringe-filled jacket and flirting with Jennifer Coolidge while picking up Henry from school, I'm like, okay, they're gonna find love. Jennifer Coolidge just gave a monologue about her loveless marriage. She and Momoa are gonna hook up. They certainly flirt real hard right there, and she seems to think he's the sexiest thing since Last Tango in Paris.
Trash man, she calls him. He's actually the garbage man. But yes, trash bag, I think she calls him.
But it doesn't go that way. It's going to go a different direction with it. Garrett's going to have a bromance, not a romance, and she's going to, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But yes, Henry's hanging out with Garrett, finds the orb. He puts the orb inside its holder, the crystal. And for reasons I didn't catch on one viewing, and I was not going back for this one minor plot detail, they're led to the mine, they're pulled to the mine. Something makes them go to the mine now that these two things are together.
Yeah, whatever. Things happen because Jared Hess insists that they must. And yes, they're all pulled into this world because we got to get there.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny slapstick. I mean, this is where I was shocked. Natalie realizes Hank didn't come home from school and calls the real estate agent who's level-headed enough to track his phone. And I'm like, wow, they brought the real estate agent back in. I didn't see that coming. And then the real estate agent gives her a ride to the mine, and all four are sucked into the overworld. And I'm like, oh, wow, the real estate agent's coming along. Dawn is a character I now have to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
They build houses. I mean, it makes sense. This is a game where you build houses. You have to have a real estate agent. I say that tongue-in-cheek. But yes, night falls. Now they're fighting zombies riding spiders.
Yeah, we get zombies, skeletons, spiders, we get all of it. The nighttime creepers of Minecraft. And this is one of the only scenes where we actually get some crafting and building. Later on, we'll get some crafting of weapons and stuff. But this is really the only time that they build any sort of structure. Everything else is already kind of existing in this land. But yeah, Henry quickly realizes that he can build, so he builds a tower that keeps them safe from this army of undead.
I think this is a good scene. I'm liking the zombie design. design. I liked the spiders with their glowing eyes. I liked the look of this world, and that Henry is kind of a kindred spirit to Steve and just instinctively knows how to build this stuff is working for me. I'm enjoying the movie.
Nope, this is exactly where I turn off. When they're at the top of this wooden construction and fighting zombies to little boo thing or whatever that is, screw all of it. This is just reminding me of that Super Mario Brothers movie to the max. Let's play a popular pop song and just throw a bunch of references, and the punchlines are like, hey, I got a sword, I got a this, I got a that, and we'll just hold up bric-a-brac from the game, and that's a movie. Hate it.
Let me guess, Justin, you're down the middle.
I mean, this is what people came for, right? This is what the Minecraft people want to see. They want to see these characters that they've known as 8-bit creations on a screen for all these years. What are they going to look like, and how are they going to interact in this kind of rounded off, squared world that we've created? And, you know, I'm all right with it. I was never drawn in by the vibes of this 8-bit world. But hey, as a creative director type of guy, I like what they've done here as far as bringing into a realistic 3D model of what these characters would look like. And it's not an easy task, and I know there was a lot of people complaining going into this movie. They didn't like the look of the zombies because it wasn't in the same spirit as the game and stuff like that. But as a casual viewer of this, I'm digging the look of it. The skeletons are fun looking. They got the square heads, the tiny little bones, and they are just creepy enough to put a little suspense in here.
All right, yeah, I won't disagree with what I'm hearing you guys say on this front. And frankly, it's 90% of the appeal of Minecraft in general. It looks cute, designed this way. That's the point, is to see the pixelated whatever. How do you make a really expensive blockbuster that's going to replicate 8-bit graphics? Yep, I'm not going to disagree. They got the look right. It looks great, and that is what is here to hold you.
And my favorite looking creatures are the piglins. You know what Malgosha reminded me of is, despite being a CGI creation, I'm pretty sure, she looked like a rod puppet, and the fact that she had this cloak over her was taking me back to like the Dark Crystal from the 80s.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to go. It's not going for realistic. It's using CGI to recreate and do probably much easier what puppetry would do in the 80s and be just eerie enough for the youngest in the audience and being somewhat cute for everyone else. And that's where we get Malgosha coming back here. And if her voice sounds familiar, I looked her up because I couldn't place that voice. She was Jeff Goldblum's right-hand woman in Thor Ragnarok, that woman who like had to call them prisoners with jobs and not slaves and things like that. That woman, yeah, that's Malgosha here.
Yeah, she liquefies the people with the staff. Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
I don't remember that, but apparently she's probably better known to the younger set as the grandma in the Moana movies.
But yeah, she's going to send Steve to get the orb by claiming she has Dennis. Now, we, the audience, know Dennis is running free, but she's going to tell Steve, I have Dennis, so you need to bring me the orb or I'm going to kill your wolf.
Yeah, all of this is just time wasting. Whatever.
Well, it sends Steve off to save the gang that's just been attacked.
And I've definitely been feeling the Mario stuff you're talking about, Stuart. But here, when Steve shows up as a zombie fighter, now I'm thinking we're just doing Jack Black's Kung Fu Panda stuff, right? Because he's doing, like, ninja moves, but he's a portly guy. So I'm definitely thinking Kung Fu Panda.
That's always been his shtick, right? Is that you might underestimate his energy because he's a little guy, but whether he's doing music or whatever, he's just a big presence. And yeah, once he's there with Momoa, it's like a contest. Who can out-camp the next? Who can do it bigger? I won't say better because it's a race to the bottom, but they're living and feeding off of each other's energy for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, who can out-bro who?
It's a good combination. I actually like it.
Yeah.
I like these two uncool people, both of whom think they're the coolest in the realm, and how Momoa thinks he's the leader of the pack when it's clearly Henry's the brains of the group, and how Steve is the one with the knowledge of what they need, but yet for some reason just isn't mature enough to make the decisions needed. I like the energy they have off of each other here at this point.
I like their energy. I don't like their lines, and I don't think they're well utilized. It feels, again, I'm betting that there was a script or several, maybe about 20, that had character motivation and heart and worked in storylines and all of that, and they just didn't care, right? They just made up everything on the set, and it just ends up being jokes like you're Dr. Swollenstein and just ad-libs that, unless you're a kid, you're really not going to be the target audience for these jokes, if that's what we're calling this.
I don't know. I've been a Jack Black fan for a long time, like since Tenacious D. That is his shtick. I'll be honest, this is the freest I've seen him in a role in a long time. Since he made it in Hollywood, I feel like people have been giving him Jack Blackish lines. I'm enjoying watching him actually just be Jack Black here.
He is the movie. I'll give you that.
I'm so back and forth on Jack Black, Justin. I loved him when I first, discovered him in the late 90s. I would have called myself a Jack Black fan. And then I, went away from him for a while, and then he won me back around the time of Tropic Thunder, and then he had kind of lost him again for a while. I mean, I saw Kung Fu Panda because he was the voice. I was a Jack Black fan at that point. So I know we talked about Jack Black with Mario. Where I am on Jack Black, I oscillate a lot. I'm a lover or a hater depending on what he did last. And coming into this, I came into this excited to see him. He's been really hitting it hard on Instagram lately, making really funny videos on Instagram and things. So he started it during COVID and has kept it up. And then he starts singing about lava fried chicken and he loses me here. I'm like, oh my God, you're just doing Bowser again. Bowser did that Peaches song that was inexplicably a hit and a meme.
Oscar nominated.
And now he's singing about this chicken, whereas I'm just horrified that you go to a chicken shop. Could you imagine going to Kentucky Fried Chicken and walking past the chickens and then having the clerk grab which chicken he's going to fry for you? That's what I feel is going on here.
But that's the game all over. Again, the perverse discovery, the pleasure I had playing Minecraft is you see these cute little animals and then you turn them into food, instantaneously. And the shock of that is just not something, as Americans that are, in an industrialized, desensitized way, not thought about thinking about the animals that are our food. It is fun in the game to have that. It's one of the few things that feels genuinely shocking.
To your point, Stuart, I was also shocked when Malgosia kills one of the piglins and he turns into a pork chop. And I'm like, I realize this makes sense in the game, but I was stunned to see murder in a Minecraft movie like this. So yeah, it was just the way they treated animals like food. It was just a little shocking.
Yeah, no, Rory, when she was 4, I remember when she realized that chicken was made from chickens, right? So I take your point on Americans not necessarily wanting to see how the sausage is made. But Arnie, that's exactly my point with Jack Black, is that with the Peaches song, that was Hollywood saying, hey, Jack Black, you sing funny songs. Here's an overly produced thing. And some people latched onto it. I never liked that song. That song irks me every time I hear it. Here, the chicken song is a quick little ditty and more in the vein of what Jack does. He takes something ridiculous and he does a quick little ditty and ski bats on it. To me, it was just short enough to be funny and part of this movie that says, hey, they're letting Jack be Jack.
And once he started singing about the lava chicken, I'm like, wait a second, why are we even in this town? Where did these villagers come from? Jack Black has existed in this world with just him and a wolf and some sheep and pandas. Now there's villagers and iron golems, and you're introducing us into a lot of lore that I'm sure the people from Minecraft are like, but me, I'm like, wait, you didn't bring up any of this. This village was on the other side of the amusement park the whole time?
Midpoint Village, it's called. Get it? We're halfway through the movie, so we're just breaking the fourth wall and saying, time to show you how you craft. Yes, this is the gameplay. You put crap on the table and you make stuff.
Yep, and these villagers are the very epitome of NPCs, the non-playable characters that are literally just walking around in random patterns behind you just to fill in the world. They're not really there to help you or get in your way or anything. As long as you don't bother them, they will not bother you.
Unless they walk out into the real world and get run over by Jennifer Coolidge.
When one of the villagers gets to the portal and just walks through it, people in the audience went like, oh. And I'm like, oh boy, this is going to mean something. This is important, the way that the audience reacted. And no, it's just a series of jokes. I thought like something really bad was going to happen, that the overworld had come into Earth. And no, that's not. And wait, explain something to me that just hit me. I thought that Momoa broke the crystal when they were being attacked by the zombies.
Yes.
So they need a new crystal to put with the orb.
To open that portal, yes. But he already got out. He got out before that.
Okay, he got out before that. Okay.
Yes. Before the portal was closed, he walked through. As Dennis was running in, he was guarding the mine, and as Dennis runs inside because he knows that, I don't know, he needs to be in there for the plot reason, this nitwit is going to walk out, and yes, what they're owing about is that this is fish out of water 80s comedy. Like, what will it be to have a Minecraft character walking around in an unblocky world, trying to date Jennifer Coolidge, who, again, it's just kind of funny that she's like, not again, and like instantly asking him out on a date and explaining her divorce and how boring her ex-husband is and how this guy understands her. I'm not going to call it great comedy, but I like this stuff better than anything that the people are doing inside the world.
But honestly, this relationship is a microcosm for this movie, right? Like, this one guy is taking on everything that Jennifer Coolidge is putting onto him without putting anything back, right? And that's why you should look at this movie. You can take out of it what you bring into it.
Mm-hmm. Is he finished with dinner? No, I think he's Swedish. Again, it's not smart humor. It's not trying to be. It feels like a Nickelodeon show that somehow ended up on the IMAX. It really does.
But we do get here my favorite character of the movie. Since Steve has rebelled and they're going off to get the new crystal, Malgosia, for convenient plot reasons, now has a potion. We'd seen the piglins go into the overworld and the sun turns them into zombies. But now she has a potion that will let some piglins survive the sun. And in comes General Chungus. And this guy is so ironic compared to what you'd expect from this kind of a role. It's voiced by Jared Hess, and just this laid back, I think they're making fun of Zoomers here with General Chungus, right? I mean, like, not taking the job too seriously, saying things like, yeah, I know today wasn't my best day, but I've got a plan to work on myself. Those kinds of excuses you might get from younger people in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're digging for more than there might be there. It's just, yeah, he looks like a killer war pig, but he talks like an unconfident, unassuming nerd.
Yeah, kind of a surfer dude attitude.
Yeah, it does sound very 80s surfer. The thing that got me is when he catches up to Steve and says, I gotta unalive you, bro. I'm torn. Is the use of unalive ironic, making fun of Zoomers who are too triggered by the word kill, and so they have to say unalive? Or is this movie too afraid of triggering that demographic, and so this movie has to say we're unaliving you so that we don't trigger anyone? I can't decide if this is really smart or really pissing me off.
Well,
I'm going to vote not really smart.
But I'll tell you this, Arnie, it's not an anti-triggering reason they say that. It's a YouTube terms and services reason, and it's just become part of their lingo. The reason they say unalived is because if you say suicide or murder in a YouTube video, you get demonetized, and it just caught on. Yeah, I think he's taking the piss out of that generation by saying that.
Yeah, they know the vernacular. And so, yeah, this is just comedy of some kind. It's a big battle scene and one of many. And I'll just go ahead and say for the next hour, this quest, the girls go one path, the boys go another. I don't have a whole lot to say other than it's noisy.
Yeah, I agree. I'm having a real hard time following the machinations of the plot. But yes, when this General Chungus attacks, it does cause the boys to split up from the girls. And they're all trying to get to the same place to get a new crystal, but Jason Mamoa is like blackmailing Jack Black, saying, I'm broke in the real world and this world has diamonds. You've got to take me through the mines to get some diamonds. And this is going to be a secret betrayal that's going to piss off Henry and hurt Henry's forming friendship with Garrett. And it's underdeveloped, overplayed, and it gives the women nothing to do now. They're just like off on a side quest. They're going to meet up with Dennis and fight a couple zombies, but they don't really do anything, whereas the guys go into this mine to get the diamonds and fight more zombies and fight more piglins. I feel like the guys are stealing the show.
I'm sorry, all apologies to LaFonda, but isn't that Jared Hess? Has he ever cared about a woman?
Yeah, you say that the studio probably forced him to put these people in here, but I think even if they hadn't, I think he would still put underdeveloped characters, women characters in here, because that seems to be his MO.
Yeah, and this is just, sorry to ginger it, but it's boy humor, right? This is what he's into. This is his style, and he didn't play with girls. I'm guessing developmentally, he doesn't have a reference point about what it would look like. And so it just is, it's a bro comedy.
Now, he does normally work with his wife on most of the films as co-writers and everything. So there is a female voice.
Wow.
A female co-writer on Napoleon Dynamite.
That's shocking.
I see what you see, Stuart, but there's estrogen behind the scenes.
Yeah, I would not have guessed that. Good for you for finding it. She clearly fell down a hole and is somewhere deep in the Minecraft world, nowhere near the creative controls. I mean, again, it's all Jack Black. Jack Black taking the reins, which just happened to be the long hair of Jason Mamoa, and just flying through this. Again, I see him as the instrument by which they're coming up with all of this comedy. When they fly into a hole and become a man sandwich or whatever all of that is.
There's some good lines here.
What was that? I mean, I don't even understand why they had to 69 to get through that hole.
It's visually funny.
You're getting away with vaguely sexual humor in a kid's PG movie.
I don't even know how vague it is. I mean, Jack Black says, just relax, let my hips guide you. I mean, that's pretty overt.
Yeah, the teenagers got it.
Yeah.
Let me just put it that way. They got it and they loved it. The teenagers in my audience. But why you do that, it feels subversive, I suppose. If Minecraft was a kiddie game or something that you played pre-sexualized, to see someone do this feels like an act of rebellion, I guess. I don't know. I'm saying this as a middle-aged man that has no reference point for any of this iconography and couldn't give two shits about any of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think if I enjoyed the game more and knew it more, when these four-legged zombie plants came up that could shoot fire, I'd probably have some jollies. And as it is, I just think, oh, that's a cute design. I like what they're doing, but it's not going to hit a nerve. And I don't think this movie is very welcoming to newbies. If you're unfamiliar with the source material, I don't think this movie is going to make you want to play the game.
Or maybe, to put another way, all it's got in terms of humor is holding up things from the game. That is what I feel like they're doing scene after scene, is saying, hey this, hey that, and that's the joke, right?
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, for me, this middle part of the movie, this entire quest is just kind of a blur where it's just, we're too much into the Minecraft world and it's not sticking with me. But what is sticking with me is the buddy cop vibe between Jason Momoa and Jack Black. I don't remember all the lines, but I do remember enjoying them and chuckling at quite a few of them. So without those two in this part, this movie really hits a wall.
Yeah, agreed. They are the movie, and unfortunately there are these other elements that are keeping it somewhat earthbound. That and the fact that the ad-libs, maybe it's the PG rating, I don't know, but this is not them at their best, but it's them at their most boisterous. I mean, they're committing to it. You can't say that Momoa and Black aren't giving it their all.
No, I think they really are, and while I do feel Momoa has become really a one-note actor, I felt like there was some range in his Game of Thrones versus his Aquaman, but now he's just the kind of dad-bodied, formerly muscular bro dude.
Yeah!
My man! I mean, yeah.
Yeah, there it is. I couldn't remember the line.
But I do like their push and pull and their interplay. And I wish I liked Henry more. I wish, his name was Henry. I started thinking Henry Thomas and Elliot and E.T. and how I wish this Henry was winning me over like Elliot wins me over in E.T. I wish I cared more for this kid. I wish he was given a more central role. I think this movie should be Henry's movie and that everybody else should be colorful characters around Henry and thus really focus on his arc, but he's like the straight man when everyone around him is funny.
But what you're wishing for is a movie. You're wishing for a movie where there was an arc. You're wishing for the idea that, yes, here's a kid who was shunned for creativity and now has been thrown in this world, is going to learn that creativity is the thing that saves him, is what's going to help him make his friends, and all the stuff that I'm sure all the writers were pushing. And Jared Hess looked at the pages and went, meh, don't need to do that. We don't really care about that. And you can argue about who has the right approach. I don't know that I want to cry at a Minecraft movie, but to feel nothing but this absurdist humor is exhausting for me by this point.
Where are we even on this quest?
Eventually, we get through the mine and do all of the shenanigans, Act 2 kinds of stuff, and we've been trying to get to this woodland mansion. That's been the end of the rainbow, and what that means is that the two dudes are going to be in some kind of wrestling match with it looks like Hulk on a chicken, while Hank is going to go upstairs and search boxes until he finds a replacement for the crystal.
This is where I turn on the movie 100%. I've kind of enjoyed some stuff about the movie so far. I felt like it's got too many characters and that the women aren't given enough to do and that Henry isn't given his focus. But this is the moment, right? This is Henry having to go off and be the hero while Jason Mamoa and Jack Black are the diversion. And they go in silly hats singing a song and they're gonna get put in a boxing ring. I knew about this zombie duck because it was a popcorn bucket. So I knew the zombie duck was coming somewhere. And it's a cute design. I liked the baby zombie being tough. But Henry is overshadowed by this while he's just sneaking around. It feels a little Harry Potterish, like Harry Potter sneaking through the castle with the cloak of invisibility as Henry's trying not to be seen by these creatures. And they're like, when you get to the third level, there's these creatures. If you look them in the eye, you're dead. Well, he looks one in the eye and he just has a brief moment of thinking his friends don't like him and then he gets over it.
Again, a real director would have cared about the psychology, right? This is a bullied kid, and now he's got to deal with the things inside of him, and it's a toss-off. It's like, yeah, we'll do that for 30 seconds, but I don't want to make a movie about that. I want to make a movie about a zombie riding a chicken and attacking Jason Mamoa. We see where the director's heart is.
I'm really tired of the humor by this point. I'm tired of Jack Black doing random riffs and singing at this point, and I'm wanting more than this movie's ever going to offer.
Yeah, you want a movie. I get that. You can do bits, and comedy movies are filled with bits. But in the end, and Napoleon Dynamite is the proof of this, as far as I'm concerned, it really becomes tiresome when there is no development, when it is just shtick after shtick after shtick. And this is a moment that announces we don't care about doing the movie moment about a kid that self-doubts. We just want to look silly again and again.
It's really starting to feel like we're at a point in history where big budget movies are starting to have that fractured, almost ADHD attention span that YouTube has created. Everything in our lives now is meant to be consumed in sub 5 minutes. And when you have to fill out at least 90 minutes for a feature length, we start getting stuff like this, where it's just, as guys like us who watch movies, it wasn't enough to hold my attention. I don't imagine how the younger crowd is still sitting through this, or is it just enough flashy kabooms on screen to keep them going?
And you make a great point, because I think the ultimate destiny for all of this is a TikTok, right? We'll just take the best moments, and that'll be what people really watch. No one will ever sit down and watch this movie with full attention, because that's not even how people watch movies anymore. I just want to see the funny bit, and this movie's got hundreds of them.
Yeah, but this people has millions of people going to theaters to sit through the whole thing, so I'm confused too.
Except they also have phones, and when, their mind wanders, they can go and check that 50 or 60 times. I gotta write and take notes, and I do think I was mocked by the people behind me. They was like, is that a notepad? I'm like, just shut up. Just shut up.
I want to remember every detail of this feature presentation.
Yeah. I just am really, really into this.
But yeah, this is probably one of the shorter movies we're going to review in theaters this year at about 100 minutes, and I'm feeling every minute of the length now. And they get the crystal, and then you're right, I need to stop caring about plot. Now Malgosia's like, I'm gonna drink the potion, I'm just gonna go take the orb myself because it's time for the climax of the movie.
Right.
So I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna have another war pig because you destroyed one, but we need one for the climax of the movie, so that's just gonna be there. Yeah.
They do try one thing, and again, it's half-assed. I don't think Jared Hess is really into it. We know that when Jason Mamoa blows up and sacrifices himself so that the others can get away, that this is just, it's almost a parody of movie cliche and formula, right? We all know he's going to come riding in on the balloon at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't even play it for sadness. They don't even give it a beat.
No sentimentality here.
Yeah.
He's allergic to it. He will not go near it. Anyway, everyone does reunite, and I do think it's because Jack Black stinks, right? The dog is able to sniff him out, and the girls come running, and yes, suddenly we're in a big climax where all the characters are doing a whole lot. And I think Henry saves the day. I don't know. You could make an argument about who's the winner here. Maybe it's Momoa's moment, but I feel like Hank got up to this high structure and did something to unblot the sun.
No, because he's shot away from it at the last minute, and then the building collapses. But it is Hank and Momoa together when Momoa says, poke the tentacles of this flying balloon. Get it? It's almost like testicles, so it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what blows up the tower and stops the cliched beam into the sky that blots out the sun that we've seen. I thought this was cliche in when Suicide Squad did it in 2016. How are we still doing this 9 years later?
But here's the thing. One, the audience for this movie hasn't seen movies for the last 9 years. They're too young. And two, if you have to do all of this stuff, is it better to do it the way Jared Hess is by just shrugging and saying, I'm not going to make you try to clap for Tinkerbell, right? I'm not going to ask you to cry about it. We're just going to go through it and treat it like every other absurd joke here. You can make the case that this is the smarter way of getting through a dumb movie.
And maybe it is.
To Arnie's point, I mean, it feels like so many movies. I don't remember much of that last Transformers movie, but I feel like it ended pretty similar to this. We were on a battlefield with a giant beam in the sky that we have to knock out.
Always.
And I do think that Hess is aware of that. I think he kind of rushes through this because it's just like, hey, we know how this ends. The beam dies and the hero saves the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's here only for the madcap, farcical juxtapositions. Putting Jack Black and Jason Momoa together is all that he wanted to do. And now that it's over, are they friends? Is this going to be some heartfelt goodbye where Jack Black is going to stay behind and everyone else is going back to the real world? Why would anyone go back to the real world? Why would this bullied kid go back to that school after he destroyed the mascot of the town? I'd stay here forever.
I think what he learned and what Steve needs to learn is that you can be creative. You know, the thesis put forth is that the real world looks down on creatives and shuns creativity.
Right.
And that what Henry has learned is he wants to go back and still be creative in the face of opposition and let his freak flag fly or something like that. And that's what Steve is going to be inspired by to finally come back to the real world himself. What I don't get is why Steve would send Dennis off with the real estate agent so Steve could just be completely alone in Overworld. I mean, Steve and Dennis are the relationship of the movie, so when he randomly says to Dawn, you take Dennis because you like animals, I'm like, wait, you're letting Dennis go after all of this? I mean, it was the most touching moment of this whole movie to me is Jack Black saying goodbye to Dennis and saying, you need to now bring light to somebody else's life and things. I love dogs, so this is breaking my heart, but I don't understand his motivation.
Motivation is that he has real friends now, and he's willing to do something for real estate lady. She loves animals. Again, they stuck that thing in, so her life would be better. She has nothing in her life, unless you're going to give her Momoa. She has gotten nothing out of this movie and this saga. So, yes, now she can go back and open the petting zoo. And, I don't know, Natalie can open up a self-defense school? Where did that come from?
Yeah.
I mean, she was tough. I'll give her that. I thought that it was fun during one of the early fights, the one where they get split up. I actually put in my notes, the women are kicking ass while the guys are literally getting their asses kicked. Like Jason Momoa bends over and a pig kicks him in the butt. And so they made Natalie tough. I never got that Natalie was bad as a social media manager. I think she was right that you shouldn't call your chips salt sacks, but I guess she's happier as a self-defense coach and she's more self-actualized.
Yeah.
We don't care, right? We don't care about her.
Hey, you don't take the office job. You don't take the corporate job. That's the shorthand of what this movie was saying all along. Mm-hmm. And creativity rules.
Yeah. But, yes, it was Henry that had to learn, and now he has friends because he built the jetpack correctly. The bullies couldn't jeopardize it, so everyone loves him flying into school now.
Yeah, he got the women. That's what it's all about, right? Because the girls all of a sudden are like thinking he's hot now that he has a jetpack, and so everyone's paying attention to him and walking past the bullies.
And meanwhile, this one's the biggest stretch for me. Steve and Garrett design a video game? They actually make Minecraft?
They made a new video game, but I thought it was like an iteration of that Hunk City. I didn't think that they were making Minecraft.
Yeah, it was a fighting.
I couldn't tell. It kind of looked like the Minecraft world. It looked like their adventures pixelized. And now everyone's going to come to this arcade because that's the only place you can play it and save game over?
Yeah, they're going to get rich 1 quarter at a time.
Yeah.
They said that it was still like in beta, so I imagine that it would sell better, and everyone was working on it. Natalie was painting the side panel art, and it looked like Jack Black and Jason Momoa were coding it, and Dawn was there.
Yeah, Dawn was there. Henry had a box of parts, so I want to say he was doing the circuitry of it. It was a team effort.
As is this final song here, because we're going to end with Jack Black singing this song that, because we are reviewing this, I have to sit through the credits, and I'm like, who the hell? Dave Grohl is playing on this song, and Jack Black is singing this song, and Queens of the Stone Age guitarist and Jellyfish keyboardist are in here. I mean, this is like a super group song.
That's the point.
Yeah, Jack and Dave Grohl have a history. I mean, Dave Grohl hopped on board. He was in that Tenacious D Pick of Destiny movie. I think he played the devil that he drums against and all that stuff. So, yeah, they have a history here. And, yeah, I mean, it's funny to me where Jack Black started with Tenacious D, acting like they were the greatest band in the world at open mic nights. And they actually kind of have become true-to-life real rock stars.
Semi-delusional, but yes, it's, Oscar nominated. Mm-hmm. That Peaches song. That's some kind of success.
Yeah, but they're not even a band anymore. They broke up because of political statements.
Yeah, Kyle opened his mouth.
And meanwhile, we do get a mid-credits and end-credits stinger, and Jennifer Coolidge, she's getting married. Sorry, Clemente, but she's found her dream man.
And a little bit funny, we find out that this entire relationship is only hours old at this point, when it seems like through montage or whatever that they've been together for months or years.
Yeah.
It does feel that way, and yet I guess I'm spending too much time lately on Reddits about toxic relationships where I just get schadenfreude reading about this. But anytime you see people like moving in together after one date or anything like that, you just know the story's going to be juicy and ugly to read and like sit there and, that gif of Michael Jackson eating popcorn as you read about the disaster that their lives became after getting too committed too quickly, how one of them is always a psychopath. And so here I'm like, oh God, a relationship that's going one night and now you're asking her to marry her? I want this Reddit thread.
Yeah, which one's the psychopath though? I think they both could be.
And then the final scene, like I said, I'm wondering what is this end stinger going to be? Jack Black goes back to his old house. He had a chest there that he left and didn't get taken to the storage unit. And he's introduced to Alex. And people in my audience knew who that was. I don't know who that is until I looked it up, like I mentioned earlier. But yeah, this is Alex being set up for the sequel.
Yeah, there's something mentioned also about a treasure chest, and that signals new quest. This is not just a Minecraft movie, it's the start of a million.
And this actress playing Alex, I had to look it up because I was reading the casting news of this, and they talked about all the people who were announced for this film, and one of the names announced was Kate McKinnon from SNL, and who'd worked previously with Jared Hess. And I was like, Kate McKinnon? She's not in this film. Yeah, she's Alex here at the end in an uncredited performance. You don't even see her face, but that's Kate McKinnon as Alex.
Oh.
Well, if they do, make a sequel, and it sounds like they're going to, she would be a fun addition.
Yeah. I thought they honestly just shot somebody from the back so they could be non-committal to whatever direction the sequel decides to take and not have somebody already cast.
I actually wonder if that's the case too, and maybe they just had Kate McKinnon do a quick voiceover for the voice or something, but didn't have her on set, and they could do that. I think they did that with so many other movies where they don't know who's going to play the role, so we're just going to tease that character and get the actor later, like Thanos. So, Justin Stewart, do you recommend a Minecraft movie? Justin.
I don't know what I expected or even wanted from a Minecraft movie coming into this. And I will say that I can appreciate what Hess is trying to do here. Listening to you guys talk about what a normal movie might do and what type of character relationships would be formed and stuff like that. Well, we've seen that 1,000 times, and I don't know that I want to see it again. So I kind of like the instinct of going here and just skimming across the surface with it. Let's not dig too deep into these mines looking for diamonds and gold. Let's just stay on the surface and see what sticks. And to some degree, there is something recommendable here. I think Jack Black's humor, along with Jason Mamoa, they're a good team that have moments in this movie that I think can carry it to a certain degree, but can it carry it the whole way? And that's where this movie runs into problems. Because it has a lot of elements of stuff that I enjoy. We didn't even talk about Jermaine Clement being in here, and that was one of the funniest scenes. He plays a guy who runs a storage auction business. He just wants to be buddies with Jason Momoa's character really bad. That was a funny dynamic that I wish had a little bit more to it, but it ends up just being a bit of a cameo. So there's parts here that makes me want to enjoy what they're doing, and it was kind of fun seeing Jared Hess back at it, and I was getting a lot of Napoleon Dynamite type of vibes out of this. And in many ways, this is almost a spiritual continuation of Napoleon Dynamite. And if you're into that movie, I think there's stuff here to enjoy. But is it the launch of a franchise that I want more of? Absolutely not. And that's what kind of scares me is out of all of this, the Minecraft stuff, while it looks cool and stuff like that, it didn't do anything to endear me to this world or this property. It really was just kind of the background noise in a Jack Black movie. So it kind of fails on that front. It didn't Minecraft for me. It basically was just kind of there and kind of actually got in the way of the stuff I was enjoying. So, I don't know. I'm torn. Can I recommend this as a fun Jack Black, Jason Momoa buddy cop movie that I would like to see a follow-up to? Sure. But as a Minecraft movie, I'm not enough of a fan of that to say it worked or didn't work. But to me, it failed at making me want more Minecraft. So, because you know what? I enjoyed this just a little bit more, and I would probably sit through this before I sat through the Super Mario Brothers. So I'm going to go with a mild recommend for it.
Stuart.
Haha, the joke's on you. You're going to sit through both. They're making a Super Mario Brothers sequel next year around this time. But for me, I agree with everything you just said, and I still want to build a brick wall between me and the IMAX screen. I couldn't take what it was doing, but I agree that what Jack Black and Momoa have going is going to be somebody's idea of a good time. But it is ironic to me that a movie that purports to celebrate creativity just throws cliched characters and pieces of game lore at us for 90 minutes and expects to build a franchise. I'm like, that is the worst idea ever. And of course, the punchline is it worked. You're telling me that this is going to be a big hit and this is just the start of a never-ending nightmare. You know, as if I didn't already spend late nights regretting that I ever suggested we review video game movies. Now I gotta live with this for, I don't know, what do we think? 6 or 7 more years of this before someone gets tired of it and stops making it? I don't know. But here's the thing that I thought was interesting. And here was my reason to think that this movie was a failure. I knew it didn't work for me. I already mentioned that the audience I was around was a very vocal teenage boy crowd. And they were hate watching. Nobody was laughing at anything. They were going like, making fart noises and going, "This movie's awesome!" Like in jest. Like they were mocking the idea that they were having a good time at a franchise film. And so I thought it was really interesting that, it makes sense. Something you grew up with. I remember I met some young people that were like, yeah, I just had to see the Dora Explorer movie because I just wanted to hate it so much. That was my prediction. If you love Minecraft, come to this to piss on the grave, but you're not going to have a good time unless you're 5 or 6. That would have been what I would have guessed until you told me that audiences are standing up and applauding elsewhere, and I was just in an anomaly of a crowd. I don't know. I hated this film. I think it deserves to be shoved out of mine and never be seen again, but apparently I'm going to be sucked in again and again.
And I didn't love it, obviously. I didn't hate it. I think this is just more of a meh craft movie. I mean, I dig the look of the film. I think the art direction's easily the strongest element. I love that the CGI mobs look like practical effects, rubber suits, puppets, foam makeup. It's a clever way to bring the voxelized world of Minecraft to life. I mean, we've seen blocky pixels done in the movie Pixels, and we've seen kind of cartoonish designs in the Sonic movies, and we've seen semi-realistic creatures in Detective Pikachu and Rampage, but this one goes, Dark Crystal, and I think that's a big win visually, especially in the Nether, which feels properly eerie and otherworldly. The overworld pops too, just not as strongly for me. But literally, this movie looks good. The characters, they have less definition than an unenchanted wooden sword. This cast is overstuffed and few of them make an impression. Why is Dawn even on this adventure? She doesn't serve a plot function and she doesn't work as comic relief because everyone is trying to be the funny one except for Henry. And you mentioned it, Stuart, there's a clear attempt at a Wizard of Oz type of arc. And I guess Natalie finds her confidence, Garrett lets go of his past, Steve accepts reality, Dawn also finds confidence, I guess.
She finds a pet to market for her zoo.
But these arcs are half-baked with the emotional beats either rushed or missing entirely. And worse, the movie never quite decides who the hero is. Jason Momoa as Garrett is top billed. Henry has the clearest hero's journey. And Jack Black's Steve steals the scenes, but then Natalie and Dawn are abruptly sidelined on a forgettable side quest. The script can't pick a lane. And don't even get me started again on those Jennifer Coolidge scenes. They're just painfully unfunny, and I think should have been left on the crafting table. Ultimately, though, this feels a lot to me like Jack Black's last big video game movie, the Super Mario Brothers movie.
It's the same damn movie.
The crowd I saw it with both times seemed to love it, and I found myself glancing at the clock, waiting for the final boss. Between thin characters, predictable beam in the sky blocks out the sun climax, and Jack Black's weird musical number about fried lava chicken, reminding me so much of that Princess Peach song, I was more bored than entertained. Would being a diehard Minecraft fan change that? That's what I struggled with. And I think probably. I'm sure spotting mobs like creepers and endermen and blaze mobs in cinematic form would add a thrill of recognition. But for me, without that nostalgia, felt cute but hollow. And I think being younger would help. I think a kid might find the Nether creepy. And when I say kid, I mean first grade like age.
Yeah, totally. This is totally for them.
Yeah, the zombie attacks might be suspenseful, but as an adult who remembers the true terror of the Dark Crystal, this left me cold. So in the end, I think it's a gorgeous looking film, and the cast is committed, but it's a movie that mines the surface without digging deep. I will say it's more entertaining than watching some of the YouTube videos I've seen watching people play Minecraft, but only a little more entertaining than that. It's a not recommend.
Worst movie of the year so far, and I saw that thing with the unicorn.
I actually tied this as worst movie of the year I've seen so far with Star Trek Section 31. This is the worst theatrical film I've seen of the year, though.
I do think there's some fun to be had here. And Stuart already said it, it's probably more fun if you catch it in 30-second clips on TikTok.
That's where it will live on. Yeah, they make the movie with the design that it breaks into pieces and people will consume it in little tiny blocks. But you mentioned it, Arnie. We will, in a couple weeks, be doing another video game movie coming to theaters, horror themed. It looks like every slasher movie I've ever seen, all tied up in a game that is beloved. Yeah, Until Dawn, I don't know it, but who knows? Maybe it could be another Cabin in the Woods.
I am so excited to play that game. I had never heard of it. I was out of touch about it. But when I started researching, to me, I came to it kind of thinking like that movie Detention, the Taiwanese game and the Taiwanese film, where it was just like a horror game that I'd never heard of. I thought it might be underground. But no, this is a big game that has a big name cast. The main character in it's voiced by Rami Malek in the game. And the game's gotten great reviews. It was a big budget thing.
Oh, it's beloved. Yeah.
So I'm really excited that they put out a special edition. I can play on my PS5. I don't have to dust off an old console and hope it still boots.
Yeah.
I'm going to definitely be playing some Until Dawn. I'm more excited about the game than the movie, but I'm excited to talk about the game in a few weeks.
Yeah, this is one of those ones where I haven't heard of the game, and when I saw the trailer, I wasn't aware of it being a game, and I was like, this might be a game movie we're going to be looking at. And I was right.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's in your future. I'm really excited to be thanking the people that helped me get through this. We have a lot of great supporters for our show, and even when these shows end up being torture sessions, I'm always grateful and hopeful that you've appreciated our efforts to survive.
We wanted to take a minute and actually thank some of you by name. So we've got Corey J. Davidson, George P., Brandon Boldman, Merle Hughes, Tim Tracy, Cram G. Draw, A.T. White, Nafe Williams, Lucas Dosher, Lee Addison,
Lee Drag, Jeffrey Gaudreau, Martin D. Hibbets, Stephen Bell, G. LaTorra Yates, A. Nick Hassick, Jeremy Mills, Sean O'Keefe, Eileen Rivero, and Michael Windsor. Thank you all very much.
Hey, don't forget about Joe Black, Chris Hargrave, Lucy Rodriguez, Chris Harris, Gerald Lavelle, Timothy Graham, Simon Brennan, Alejandro Avila, Tom Ward, Sean Burgess, Julian Lewis, Vajdi Bader, Don Andrus, Darker Hue Studios, Kent Lyons, Andrew Doran, Trevor Harrison, Jeff Wade, Comic Fan 96, and ZBGB.
And also thanks to 1111, Bastion Roman Peter, Grand Canyon, Maddie B, Fisher JA12, Scott. If you don't know which Scott, I'm talking to you, Scott.
He knows.
T Ward 1971, Seamus Finlayson, Hey You, and Kiefer 51.
And last but not least, we've got Cox J, Ruddix, Chris Cross, T. Casta 2176, J. Clark Fisher, S.G. Harsh, Dimitri from Belgium, and Now Playing Fan. Thanks to all of you.
Indeed. Thank you so much for being a platinum level and higher patron of Now Playing on Patreon or on Podbean. We could not keep doing this show without you. And as a gold level patron or higher, you can join us this Friday for our 7th Hacker movie in the retrospective. We're talking Chris Hemsworth starring in the Michael Mann movie Black Hat.
Yeah, maybe a chance for the series to take up a notch. A-list director, B- star. It could be something.
Yeah, I look forward to looking into that one.
Yeah, that will be available this Friday. I know the movie bombed, but maybe it's an underrated gem. So you can find the details on how to support Now Playing and get all these hacker films at nowplayingpodcast.com/donate. And Justin Stewart, thank you for crafting with me. Until next time, game over.
Go on! Get out of here!
Thank you for listening to this episode of Now Playing Podcast.
Sorry, I have no idea what I'm doing.
We hope you've enjoyed the show.
Woohoo! Oh, dude, I got goose pimples just walking up on it.
Come back to nowplayingpodcast.com each week for another new movie review podcast.
Go with it!
Also at our site, you can find hundreds of other movie reviews, including Star Wars, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Independence Day, the Avengers films, Back to the Future, Batman, Superman, The Fast and the Furious, and more.
Welcome to the stash.
Now Playing Podcast is a show without any sponsors or ads. We rely on support from listeners like you to keep Now Playing operating.
And if that happens, you can say Biocom DS to your body plane's navigation system.
What?
You can donate to the show and, as our thank you, receive bonus podcasts. Over 150 bonus movie reviews are available to choose from on the Now Playing Podbean page, including Alien, Night of the Living Dead, Jurassic Park, Ghostbusters, Indiana Jones, Lord of the Rings, Psycho, Troll, and more.
Yo, I need protein like pronto.
Find a full list of available bonus shows at nowplayingpodcast.com/donate.
Everything we'll need to make it to Woodland Mansion.
You can also join the Now Playing Patron campaign. Patrons of $10 or more get a new exclusive movie review every month. Plus, even more perks, including one where you can pick a movie for our hosts to review. Find the details on our website.
This beautiful world and everything in it will wither and die.
You can help us out by leaving us a 5-star review on Stitcher, Podbean, iTunes, or your other podcast store of choice.
But they're a bunch of big softies.
You can follow Now Playing on Facebook and Twitter, where we post announcements of new episodes and where the hosts post movie mini reviews. Links to our social media pages are available on our homepage.
I got just the place, buddy.
Now Playing Podcast is produced and edited by Arnie Carvalho.
So they built all this?
Yeah, most of it.
Associate produced by Jason Latham.
Your head is huge.
Now Playing credits read by Brock.
Yeah, garbage man isn't speaking English or Espanol.
The opinions expressed on Now Playing are those of the individual hosts and may not reflect the opinion of Venganza Media Incorporated.
This place makes no sense.
Venganza Media Incorporated is not affiliated with the motion pictures reviewed or otherwise referred to herein. All movie clips and music included in this podcast are the intellectual property of their respective copyright holders. They are included here for the purpose of review and no infringement is intended.
The total pacifists and vegetarians. You don't bug them, they won't bug you.
Now Playing Podcast is an exclusive trademark of Venganza Media Incorporated and may not be used without the expressed written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated. All rights reserved.
That thing doesn't understand a word you're saying.
Now Playing is a Venganza Media production, copyright 2025, and no part of this show may be reproduced, repurposed, or redistributed without the written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated. All rights reserved.
Bio con Dios. It means goodbye, brother.
No, it doesn't.
Don't look at her. It does.
I was more head scratching. Like, Sizzler doesn't exist. Did they have to pay to mention Sizzler? Is this fair use of the Sizzler copyright? This is what's going through my head during the scene.
Sizzler doesn't exist? Are you sure of that?
I think Sizzler's still around.
I think it's still there. It's just not a place you go to because you're not Garrett.
Ponderosa, on the other hand, may have gone under.
Oh my God, Sizzler's still
Yes!
They all closed in both areas I lived. None survived in Illinois or Texas. They used to be there. They're now all California and Utah and...
Yeah, they were in L.A. Yeah, I saw them in L.A. all the time.
I literally thought Sizzler... I thought it was a joke to mention Sizzler, because I thought it was 80s.
Well, it is. It's to stake what Radio Shack is to electronics.
Except Radio Shack doesn't exist anymore, apparently, but this place does.
And that's why you probably think Sizzler should be gone, too.